Okay, on January 31st, 2017, I got a phone call. I was sitting in my room, picked up the phone. On the other end of the line was a multimillionaire. And he asked me to put together a quote for a full digital strategy social media audit for one of his brands. At this point, I had been freelancing for about 6 months, managing social media accounts for different brands and businesses, and it seemed like it was going pretty well. On June 6th, 2017, about 6 months after that, I rode my skateboard to Ralph's and I bought a 6-pack of cinnamon raisin bagels for $1.99, making the remaining balance in my checking account $1.46. I had been freelancing for about a year at that point, and you can tell things weren't going all that well. I'm going to finish both of those stories later on in this talk. But the title of my talk today is Why You Should Start Freelancing Tonight. And basically what I'm going to be talking about is a lot of my failures, the things I've learned with those failures, and hopefully in an attempt to get you guys to see that even through all the failures and the really hard parts of freelancing, that it's been one of the most important and beneficial experiences of my life. And it's like really kickstarted a lot of my personal, professional growth and artistic creative growth. And so that's the title of my talk. That's the goal for today. The three main topics, this is kind of the outline. The three main topics we're talking about is how freelancing helps you grow as an artist. The second one is how it helps you develop as a professional. And then the third one is how it helps you really transform as a person. So that's kind of the outline for today. So we're going to dive into it. First main topic is how freelancing is going to help you grow as an artist. So freelancing helps you grow as an artist because it gives you a reason to create better work. Often I find that my default mode is me not practicing and creating. My default mode is me not researching or looking for inspiration. My default mode is me not seeking ways to solve my customers' problems. But when there's a client who says they're going to pay me to do a job for them, then I'm searching for inspiration everywhere. I'm trying to figure out how to solve their problem. I'm always looking for things. So just the fact of having someone who's going to pay you to do a job for them gives you a lot of inspiration and reason to create and to pursue these things and to grow and challenge yourself as an artist. Sometimes when I've been working for people, they'll see my work and they'll just say something like, oh, I don't know if this is good enough. Or, I'm not sure if I really like this. Super ambiguous, no really hard, reasons why or whatever. And I may or may not agree with that. But I've realized that that's not really what's important. What's important is that they're paying me to create something that they feel good about. And obviously there's a balance here. You shouldn't just, do everything your clients tell you to do. But what I've found is that in most cases, it's just given me more reason to dig deeper, more reason to keep researching, more reason to become better and create something that they feel good about, something that is, at the end of it all, objectively better. So freelancing helps you grow as an artist because it gives you a reason to create better work. It's really hard for me and a lot of other people I know to really find this motivation to really dig deep and research and create and really try to become better when there's not something on the line, when there's not a project to deliver. So that's one of the first ways that I think freelancing helps you grow as an artist. The second way is that it helps you create art, helps you create work that serves a purpose. Let's just take this example here. Let's say you're creating a landing page for a business, and the purpose for that landing page could be to get people to click and take action, right? So one of your landing page designs is going to earn more clicks than another one of your landing page designs. And now, because you're freelancing and working for somebody, it becomes your job to know the difference. It becomes your job to know which one is going to get more clicks. Another example could be if you're painting a mural for a restaurant. The goal could be to get people to stop, take a photo in front of the mural, and wonder what's inside. So now, one of your color palettes for this mural is going to get more people to stop and take a photo than another one of your color palettes, and it becomes your job to know the difference and do that. Another funny example could be maybe you're illustrating a kid's book. One of your cartoon fox sketches is going to look more mischievous than another one of your cartoon fox sketches, and it becomes your it becomes your job to know the difference, to pull these goals and these things out of the client and really create something that serves that purpose. And so some people might say that this isn't necessarily true art, that true art doesn't serve like marketing or business purposes. And this may or may not be true, but that's not really what we're talking about. What we're talking about is how freelancing for people makes you a better artist. So take this example. 2 weeks ago, I was watching a Tiny Desk concert with John Legend. and he was playing on the piano, solo piano stuff, and he was singing, and he finished off one of his songs, and he just added this really tasteful like piano lick at the end. And you could tell by his face, he had that sort of ugly and painful musician face when they make a last-minute musical decision. You could tell that he chose to do this lick at the very last minute. And I remember thinking to myself, like, man, he is such a good musician. Like, he's so artistic. He's such a good artist. But then pretty quickly I realized, that might not be true. He's probably just done that lick 100 times before, or a variation of that lick 100 times before. So when you do freelance projects for clients, you do 100 different things 100 different times. So when you decide, when you're creating art, that you want to do something, you've done it 100 times. And isn't that all being a good artist is? You've done it 100 times. So when it's time to do that brushstroke, when it's time to play that song, when it's time to do this, you can just execute. So that's another big way that I think freelancing helps you become a better artist. And then the third way is that the act of promoting your work is its own platform for practice. So a lot of these digital platforms where you promote your portfolio, Dribbble, Behance, Instagram, your website, these websites like favor people who are more active. So now you have a reason to create every day. The more places you exist online, the higher chance you have of people seeing your work, higher chance you have of people seeing your work, the higher chance you have of being hired, more chance you have of making money. So now, if you want to make money, there's so much more reason to make work every day, to create every single day, and to post it, and to post it, and to post it. So the act of promoting gives you more practice, thus, in the end, making you a better artist. So that's kind of the whole wrap-up of my first big point of why I think you should start freelancing tonight, even if it's full-time or part-time or just one project a year. I think it's really important to do that because it's going to give you this inspiration to become a better artist. It's going to give you the practice and the motivation that you wouldn't necessarily find otherwise. So that's the end of my first big point. The second big point is that freelancing helps you develop as a professional. I think you should start freelancing tonight, whether it's just side projects, one a year on the weekend. You should start freelancing tonight because it's going to help you develop as a professional. First way I think freelancing helps you develop as a professional is that it forces you to sell your work with your name on the line. And it really teaches you to communicate clearly, teaches you to communicate with authenticity and to stay cool under pressure. I'll give you a little example. When I was in college, I helped run the student life events department. So basically they would put on events on campus, concerts and stuff. And so I'd be on these email threads with these artist managers getting to negotiate to get their musicians on campus for $5,000 or $10,000 or sometimes upwards of $15,000 to get their artist on campus. Now let's contrast this with when I first started freelancing. I was managing social media accounts for different brands and businesses, and when I was negotiating with those different businesses, I'm talking monthly retainer quotes of $350 or $500, sometimes $750. Now, which one of these two do you think was more nerve-wracking for me? Which one do you think was more difficult for me? Working for somebody else or pitching my own stuff? $15,000 or $500? Freelancing was so much harder. You could measure that by the amount of sweat that was coming down my head when I was on these phone calls originally. And so freelancing really forced me to learn how to sell and communicate really well with my own work and my own name on the line. I can't blame anybody else. I can't pass the project to anybody else. I can't tell anybody else, I don't know what to do. Why don't you take it from here? It's all entirely on me, and my name's on it. Reese is on it. My name is on it. So if it's good, then it's good. And so when I first started managing social media accounts, I had a little bit of success in growing some accounts and driving some real world conversions, getting people to events with social media. And so I decided that I would pitch this to other brands and businesses to do that. And I knew a thing or two about how to get people to take action on social media and do stuff online. And as soon as I got into it, I realized there's a whole world of things that I did not know. And so when I started pitching projects for clients, people would often ask me at the start, like, oh, do you also do websites or do you also do Facebook ads? And I didn't want them to see me as somebody who was incapable or not knowledgeable. So I would try to cover up what I didn't know with ambiguity, like, oh, yeah, we could probably figure that out for you, or yeah, that's not so hard, while I'm Googling the term, hoping that I could, if it was something I couldn't do, I would be able to hire somebody else out to do it or whatever. But when I tried to cover up my shortcomings and the things I didn't know with ambiguity, one of two bad things would happen. Either one, they would ask me to do the work that I wasn't super confident in, so I would just do bad work. Or two, the whole offer would seem too good to be true. Oh, can you do this? Yeah. Can you do this? Oh, sure. Oh, you can do this too? Yeah, totally. I think I can do that. It's like this guy must not know what he's talking about. So it would cause the clients to lose trust. And so what I've realized now over a long process of doing this fake it till you make it sort of thing is if I'm able to be as authentic and as transparent and as honest with my clients as possible, it goes way better. So now they ask me, do you do this too? No. Can you try this? I've tried that and I'm not very good at it. Do you do this too? I've done that before and I haven't seen good results. And so what that does is it helps break down these barriers of inauthenticity, helps them see me as a real person. And also it just helps us focus, mostly it just helps us focus on what I know I'm good at, what I know we can accomplish. And so that's one of the big ways that I think freelancing helps develop your communication skills. It helps you learn how to communicate really well, whether you're taking that back to a full-time job, whether you're taking that somewhere else. I think that's a huge resume piece. If you're applying for a job or whatever, it's like, well, I can sell your product because I can sell my product. If I can sell mine, I can sell yours, right? So that's one of the first big way I think freelancing helps develop you as a professional. The second big way, really big way that I think freelancing helps develop you as a professional, it teaches you to empathize with your clients. Our problems, not the same problems that our clients face. The problems that we have are not the same problems that our clients have. And it's easy to see it this way because we're working on the same project. But we're coming at it from one angle and the client's coming at it from a different angle, and learning to empathize with what they want and their problems and what they need is so, so important. When I first started managing social media accounts, I was hired by the family of this teenage musician. She was about to put out her first album. She was like 16 or 17. And her parents hired me to help develop all the strategy. I was developing, all the posts we were gonna do. I was planning out all the photo shoots and what we were gonna say and all the right captions and doing the ads and everything. It was this full service thing, right? And when I was negotiating this project, I was really clear. I said the most important thing in my mind is building a following, is building this community. The most important thing in my mind is developing something that these people are gonna latch onto and be really into for a long term, right? So, because I told them, they're not just gonna buy we don't just wanna sell them the album, we wanna sell them the lifestyle and the whole, we want them to be a fan, because then they'll buy the album, they'll buy a ticket, they'll buy a t-shirt, they'll tell their friends. That's so much more valuable. So then we did everything, we released the singles, we posted all the photos exactly on time with exactly the right captions, and the album drops and it doesn't sell that many copies. And they come up to me and they're like, hey, what was all this for? Like, why did we spend all this money doing this? Like, we didn't sell any copies. And I'm like, kind of backpedaling, like, this was the whole point. Like, it doesn't matter if it doesn't go number one on iTunes the first weekend. Like, we're building a following. This is what's important. This is what I've been telling you the whole time. And then they let me go. And for a long time, I was really bummed. And I was kind of hurt because the interaction didn't go very well at all. And I was really hurt. And then I realized after a while that mostly it was on me, because I didn't empathize with what they wanted. I didn't empathize with their goals. I didn't see what they wanted and ask what they wanted. Even if I did nothing to achieve their goals, I also did nothing to acknowledge, hey, I see you, I hear where you're coming from, but that's not the direction we're going. I didn't do any of that. So they had this expectation that I didn't address, that I didn't empathize with, and it burned me in the long run. So what I've realized now is the most effective way to have really, really sustainable relationships with your clients is to just empathize with what they want. So empathizing with your clients helps you develop as a professional because it does two main things. One, it helps you create better products. Not only are you creating something that satisfies your goal and your vision, at the same time you're also creating in the same piece of work something that satisfies your client's goals and your client's vision. And it's objectively better because not only is it doing this, but it's also doing this. So empathizing with your clients helps you create work that is better because it's accomplishing more, it's doing more, it's serving more purposes than just your artistic vision, right? And then the second thing that empathizing with your clients does is it helps you truly become an innovator. We see this with the most successful companies out there. Apple, right? They developed a computer that solved a problem that customers didn't even know they had. They said, we're going to put fonts in this computer way back in the day. They said, it's going to have colors in it. We didn't even know that was possible. But they were so in our minds, they knew that if this was a possibility for the customer, it would change everything. They released it off to the races. They're changing the world, right? Same thing with Adobe products. You see this with Lyft and Uber. Never did we ever think we would call a stranger on our phone and they would come pick us up. But now, as soon as it hit the market, it was like, wow, this is solving a problem. There's so many cars that were never driven, and now they're driven all the time, and I don't have to own a car, and it's solving this big problem. And so these companies were so in tune, they empathized so much with their customers that they truly innovated and created something that solved a problem that changed the culture. So that's another big reason why I think freelancing helps you develop as a professional, because it teaches you really to empathize with your customers, whether you're taking that back to a full-time job, whether you're doing an e-commerce thing or your own small freelance thing. Really empathizing with your customers is important to do for professional success, and then just learning to communicate really well with your name on the line. So that's kind of the wrap of my second big point of why you should start freelancing tonight, is because it's just going to make you better at your job or anything that you're doing for work. My third big point is that freelancing transforms who you are as an individual. How I think freelancing transforms you as an individual is that it forces you, through fire and trial and tribulation, to believe in yourself and to believe in the worth of your work. I had a friend, very talented friend from childhood, who was called by a multimillionaire to do a project. And this multimillionaire asked my friend to give him a quote that at the time was way, way, way out of my friend's league, based on his track record, based on his portfolio, based on the kinds of projects he hadn't done before, based on the amount of money he had charged before. This project was way out of his league. And I could tell my friend was really nervous. But he collected himself, he took a deep breath, he called some friends, he did some research, he asked for some advice, and he put together a quote. He sent this quote over, and the quote got approved. So my friend packs up his gear, goes, finishes the project, delivers it, they love it, he gets paid, and then in one transaction, with the money he got paid from that project, he pays off all of his student loans in one transaction with the money from that project. And the crazy thing is that he didn't have the track record, he didn't have the portfolio or anything to point to that would say, oh, I can charge this much for this project. But what he did have was confidence in his ability to execute on his abilities and his vision. He had the confidence that it doesn't matter that I haven't done this stuff before, I know that I can bring this value and bring enough value and charge enough that these people all feel good. And this isn't just the money about one guy making a bunch of money one time. He's consistently hired by this company because he does this. And the crazy part is that through the process of charging way more than he ever had before, but believing in the worth of his work, he became worth what he charged through that process. So it's kind of this chicken and an egg thing, right? Where it's like he believed it before it happened, and then when he did it, he became worth that much. And so here's where the story kind of goes full circle back to what I was talking at the beginning. 2 months after my friend does that project, I get that phone call that I mentioned at the beginning of the talk. Multimillionaire. I remember I was sitting in my room, phone rings, I pick it up, and we had exchanged emails a couple times the day of, and he calls me about 20 minutes late because he had decided to take his private jet off a couple minutes later than he had originally told me. You know how it goes, right? And he asks me for a full quote for a social media audit for his brand. And I am petrified, because I knew who this guy was, I knew how much he was worth, I knew how much my friend charged, how much stress my friend was under, and I was petrified. I was 22 years old at the time, graduated college 6 months before, had worked at 2 different coffee shops washing dishes before that, and here I am on the phone with this multimillionaire. I did not believe that I was supposed to be on that call. I did not believe in myself to deliver the product, right? So I put together a quote, kind of kicking around, super scared. Most I had charged at any point before that for any project was $50 an hour. So I really mustered up the courage. I created a quote based on $100 an hour for like a full week of work. I sent him a quote for like $4,000. Sent it over to him, don't get an email back. I don't know if it's because the quote was too low and they didn't take me seriously. I don't know if it's because they found somebody else who forgot to tell me. I don't know if it's because my email fell through Gmail cracks and never got delivered. I don't know any of that. But what I do know is I didn't believe that I was supposed to be there. I didn't believe that I was worth what I was charging. So even if that project had gotten approved and I had won that project, I wouldn't have delivered on the value because I didn't believe I was supposed to be there. I can make a free throw, right? You get me in a gym, empty gym, no one else around, I get focused, I get in a rhythm, I could probably make 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10 free throws. You get me at the same free throw line with a hoop with the exact same glass, exact same hoop, same distance, same height away, same basketball, and you put a row of NBA players right there, and a row of NBA players right there, and a referee right there who bounces me the ball, and I'm in an NBA arena with 20,000 people, can I make that free throw? No, because I don't believe I'm supposed to be there. And so that's kind of the point there, is that you really have to believe in yourself and your self-worth, because no one's going to do that for you. No one's going to believe that you're supposed to be there before that, right? So I wish I had a great end to this story where it was like the next time a millionaire called me, I charged them $100,000 and now I'm a baller. But I don't have a story like that. I have a lot of stories about incremental growth. I have a lot of stories about incremental increases in belief in myself. I have a lot of stories about incremental student loan payments, but I don't have a story about that. It was a huge, huge moment for me 4 or 5 months ago when I was called by an ad agency to come in and consult them on Facebook ads, and they asked me what my day rate was. And I said $500 a day. And before that, I wrote 400 in the original email, and I was about to send it. I was hovering my finger over send, stood up from the kitchen table, and I walked around the kitchen, and then I went back and I changed it down to 300, and then I was about to send that, and I closed my eyes and changed it to 500, and I sent it. And in 5 minutes, it was approved. And I go into work that day, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm worth $500 today. I'm gonna bring $500 worth of value and more. And so in a lot of cases, it forces you, freelancing forces you to believe in yourself and the work of your worth, because that's how it gets better. That's how you really create work that transcends what you've ever been able to do before. When the stakes are higher, that's when you really deliver on that value and become something that you wouldn't have been able to be before. So that's one of the big ways that I think freelancing helps transform you as an individual. The second and most important way that I think freelancing transforms you as an individual, and this is the one that's most personal and important to me, is that it really causes you to be accountable to yourself. Maybe about 6 months after our millionaire friend didn't give me a call back, I'm back in the coffee shop that I so proudly left 8 months earlier, and I'm in the back. It's a Sunday night, washing dishes, staring down at the soapy water. Just finished another rack of plates. And I'm leaning over the edge, looking at the water, thinking to myself, I'm gonna be the one who has to make this happen for myself. I'm the one who has to do this for me. And before, I had never found that motivation within. That motivation had always been, I'm gonna work hard because I respect my boss. Or I'm gonna work hard because I'm trying to impress this person. I'm gonna work hard because I don't want my professor to be mad at me or to try to get a good grade. My motivation had always been coming from somewhere else because I was always doing work for something or someone else. I was never doing it for me. And then I realized when I was at the pit, when I had $1.48 in my bank account and I had to go back to wash dishes, I realized that I was doing this for me. I was doing this for myself. And I was the only one who was being hurt by my lack of motivation. The only one that my lack of determination, my lack of research, my cutting corners was hurting was me. I wasn't cheating a teacher to give me a better grade. I wasn't cheating a boss out of 20 minutes of work. The only person my lack of motivation was cheating was me. And so from that point, I told my boss at the coffee shop, I said, I want to do more dishes. If you got dishes, let me do dishes. And I took earbuds and I threaded them up my shirt. And the side of my head that he couldn't see, I had an earbud in there, just marketing freelance podcast spinning on repeat. I'm just doing as many dishes as possible, listening to as many podcasts as possible. I'd get off work at the coffee shop. I'd go to the library with the money I didn't have, and I would get books on marketing, copywriting. I signed up for a ton of newsletters. I signed up for any free webinar that somebody said, hey, do this, much to the decimation of my inbox. But I was signing up for every free webinar, right? Because I just wanted to sort of get a glimpse of how are these people doing it? How are you doing it? Because I knew that I was the one who was going to have to make it happen for myself, right? And so now I'm waking up earlier. Now I'm working later. I'm working on Saturdays. I'm trying to really maximize my rest days and my rest times and really trying to be as productive as possible because I realize my success is 100% on me. And I never would have realized that. I never would have done that or come to that space unless I was working for me and only for me. And so that's kind of like the biggest, most important thing that I think I want to leave you guys with today, and like to really support this point of like you should start freelancing tonight. Even if it's one project a year, that's going to take you so much farther in all the things I just talked about than anything else ever could. Even if it's just one project a year or a couple of months, like learning to believe in yourself and your worth is priceless. It's priceless and it's amazing. So those are the big things that freelancing has taught me. I'm sure you're going to hear a lot more from all these other guys who are a lot more talented and smart and successful than me. But just thanks so much for listening and get after it. So.